So when episode 8 of Twin Star, they dropped like a little bombshell on us because we learned about that tragedy that happened 2 years ago, and this right here was like kind of obvious because I have mentioned this, in like little hints because this right here was what I thought, in previous reviews. So I am glad that my theory was like somewhat right, but at the same time, I definitely like need to know more about it because I am curious to see, like how exactly this happened. So hopefully, that right there can't be shown next week. But the episode itself starts off where we see, some random guy who we learn later on who he really is, and that right there, completely caught me off guard because I thought, he'll be some random character. I did not know he'll be, someone important, like into the story. But regardless, now we see someone like kind of go to like this site that's like being worked on. But we see now how originally it was like some form of a dormitory, but obviously like nobody lives there now. And we see now how someone left some flowers and a plate full of what's it called, ohagi. And so pretty much now we go to Rukuro, Benio, and Mayura, and we see now Mayura, finally learns, what's going on about how Rukuro and Benio, they are twin stars, they are destined to get married, and have a child. And so right now, Mayura, she was definitely upset about that, and we see her now freaking out, and we see how she does not want Rukuro to fight, but she learns how and she learns how he's already doing that, and we see that pretty much that right there kind of leads to an argument between Benio and Mayura because we have Benio kind of like defending him because, she was saying how she, respect and acknowledges his strength. But that right there is like when he only gets serious. And we see now how Mayura, how she thought back to last week, like even though, that right there wasn't that old, she was thinking back to last week where we had been, talking about someone. And so it was like kind of easy for her to like make that connection, how she was talking about Rukuro because even Mayura, back then, in that scene, she also was like thinking about him. And so pretty much now, that right there eventually, leads to Benio defending him to pretty much both of them kind of like dissing him. And we see now how that right there kind of had crushed, Rukuro some. But then we see now how both of them, turned their attention to him because they wanted to know what exactly did he want to do. And so pretty much now he was saying how he even though he's not sure if he wants to fight, if he has the power to protect someone, then he definitely wants to do that. And so pretty much Mayura, she was upset, she was crying, telling him to like do what he wants, and we see her now like running away. And so pretty much now, like while she was like like leaving and going back to her own home, I'm imagining she was like thinking about Rukuro. And we see now that after the tragedy that had happened, we see Benio, we see Mayura, running to him, and we see now how he was like burning all of his old stuff that made him an exorcist. And so pretty much now, he was like crying, his like seeing that little face with all those tears, that right there, will break your heart. And so we see now how he said so much for like being the strongest. And so pretty much now going back to the present, where we see that someone was like definitely following Mayura. And eventually now we see like this little kid grabbing her hand. And so in the real world, we actually couldn't see this kid, but in the mirror we can. And then we see that once that little kid took hold of her hand, and we see his face, that creepiness right there, like to me, that right there will probably more than likely be my picture for the video, because to me, the creepiness, it was definitely there. And so we see now that, going back to Benio and Rukuro, we had Benio's familiar who was bringing out her lunch, and we see now how we noticed something that was like on the floor, and that right there was a good luck charm that had belonged to Myra. And so pretty much for as long as Ruka could remember like knowing her, she always had that. And so that charm, it was actually revealed to be a spell. A spell that was used to like hide her power, because Myra apparently has a very high potent of spell power. And so if Myra ever became an exorcist, that right there would like make her like pretty damn strong, because she will like have the spell power to like pull off like some big spells. And so pretty much now we have Rukuro, going to like take it to her, but it was too late because she was already pulled into the Magano. And so we see now that this little kid, when it became a Kagare, and we see it now show us like true form, that was like freaking creepy looking because it became massive. You can see how like it had something on its stomach, but then we see how it like had all these souls, like trapped in its body. Not to mention how we saw, that, instead of like regular legs, it had like tentacles that it used to like wrap around Myra's body, and we see it now going to eat her, but luckily we have Rikuro, saving her, and that right there, was a pretty nice save. And so pretty much now, like after he had rescued Myra, because he was saying like how he protect her, she was like, don't say things like that, because that right there will make it harder, for her to tell him not to fight. But so pretty much, she had passed out for like the rest of the episode, and then we had Benio like now catching up as well. And so we see now, that right there, led to both of them, fighting this Kagare, because we see now, like, this thing, it was definitely a lot tougher than normal, even for them. And so now, like, going back to our old dorm where we have the old man, Jisama, we have Benio's old caretaker, and we have the trio who pretty much fought her at this point. We see now how someone was there, and this guy's name is Sagan, and apparently this guy is also one of the 12 Guardians. And so pretty much the guy with the like red like mohawk or whatever, who kind of talks a lot, we see him now, laid out because Sagan here actually attacked him. So the reason why this guy, was here after all this time is because he was here, thanks to Arima sending him, but pretty much he had came to like clean up his pupils like work, because apparently Ruguro, his power is like getting kind of sloppy, because apparently it's like leaking out everywhere. So to me that right there seems kind of strange, but regardless, now he was like pretty much here to clean up his work and to also teach him a lesson. And so now because of that, he had quickly went to the Magano, and that's where we have Jisama's telling everyone how that right there, like was his son-in-law, because he was like married to his daughter, and that makes him, Mayura's father, even though this guy looks so freaking young. And so now going back to Benio and Ruguro, we see now that they were having like somewhat of a hard time with this Kagare, because they were not able to like get rid of it right away. And so we see that because of that, they were struggling. But when Sagan came in there and he took it out with like pretty much one attack, because we see how his main weapon also deals like with his arm, and we see that its power is very high, because we saw that the laser that it was using, that right there was like able to cut the Kagure up with like ease. And also we saw that the hooded boy, he was watching them, but at the same time it seemed like Benio and Murukuro did not notice or see him, which to me seemed rather odd, because he did seem like he was somewhat close to them. And so pretty much after Sagan was like done with the Kagure, he had pretty much turned his attention to Rukuro, because apparently this guy Rukuro, apparently that right there was a teacher at one point, because he did call him master. And so right now we see how Sagan, he was not holding back. We see him now, even hitting Rukuro at one point. And so pretty much now he was pretty much Sagan, he definitely does not see Rukuro as an exorcist, because apparently because of that because apparently of the thing called the Kegare corruption, which we learned, a crap ton about. Well, not a crap ton, but we do learn, about it in the episode. And so pretty much now, so because Sagan does not see Rukuro as a protector or an exorcist, he actually wants to test him. And so we see now how when they start their little fight, obviously Sagan is a lot better because we see now how we also use those air fissure bullets, and so that right there, makes me believe that either Rukuro, copied him, or maybe it is possible that these two were teacher and student, at one point. And so pretty much now when Sagan used it, there was so much power behind it, even though he was using these small pedals, but at the same time, Rukuro has a lot of spell power as well, because we see him using this massive boulder, but at the same time with the one pebble that Sagan had left, he actually destroyed it. But that right there is what Rukuro wanted him to do, because that right there was his plan, where he takes that out, and we see how that right there kind of gave Rukuro an opening to punch him, but at the same time there was no killing intent. And so we see how apparently either Sagan was able to steal a black talisman off of Rukuro somehow, or maybe he already had them, but pretty much he had turned his arm back to normal, and we see now how that right there ended their fight, here and there. And so then we go back to Jisama, who was telling everyone about the Kagare corruption, where someone who has, a very high amount of a spell power, they can possibly become a Kagare. And so we see that, so we see now that when he mentioned that dormitory, where we know that our main two characters have ties to, we see that Benio's old caretaker, she was freaking out. We even see her drop her cup of tea. And so right now, going back to Sagan, Benio and Rukuro, we see now how we also had mentioned the Kagare corruption. Oh no, he was pretty much bringing up, about what Rukuro's arm, really meant. And of course, he also had mentioned about that dormitory where everything went down 2 years ago. And to me, this right here is what I find, really confusing, because I could have sworn that I could have sworn Benio already heard this term, and we never see, and we have never seen her trigger like that. But this girl, she was in a state of shock, hearing that, Rukuro was there, because we learned, thanks to her old caretaker, how her family was in that dorm. And we also learned how her brother was adopted, by her father's side. To me, different here is kind of confusing. But apparently, apparently her brother is not her mother's son, whatever. To me, like I said, to me it's rather strange. But regardless, he was adopted into that family, and we also learned how he was also at that dorm, because like I said, there is no way that that we're gonna see two different characters with blue hair. No, that were there to me, would just be too out of it. So I definitely knew that there was definitely time between them. But at the same time, I do wonder what happens to his eye, because we see that in the picture with Benio. He had both of them, but then, in the one with Rukuro, we see that he had an eye patch on one of them, so I do wonder what happened to him. But regardless of that, we learn now how 2 years ago, Rukuro here, the sole survivor, was the one behind this, because he actually went through the Kagare corruption, and that right there is how he got his arm power. But at the same time, he killed everyone. But that right there is not the case, because like I said, this boy who's watching them, that right there has to be Benio's brother and Rukuro's friend, because the opening did kind of spoil that, which still pissed me off. But at the same time, there's nobody else it could be. So I do wonder when he will reveal himself, because I'm curious to see what kind of role will he play. But regardless, now Benio knows the truth, and we see how she was asking Rukuro to say something because he was like so quiet, and we even had Benio, saying please because she kind of like doesn't want to believe it's him, but of course we all know it is. But I do wonder like what is wrong with Sagan? Like why in the world is he going so low to like do this? Maybe it's because his daughter is hurt, or maybe he really doesn't want Rukuro to be, an exorcist, but at the same time, I just don't get it. But overall, this episode, to me, it was good. It definitely got a lot better where we learned about what happened, thanks to Sagan. Even though he is kind of a dick, I will say that I do like him so far. And his weapon, that right there is awesome. And of course, with him being that strong, he's actually one of the 12 Guardians. So far, we have seen 2 out of the 12. So I do wonder what the other 10 are like. But as always, let me know what you guys thought. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps me out. And as always, you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.